Now that I've got the movement all rebuilt on this Waterbury, it's time to go ahead and repair that piece of wood on the bottom that was broken. I'll need to remove the movement so I can work on that piece of wood. The cases on these Ogees were made out of pine, and then they had a veneer placed on top of the pine. The veneer many times was a cherry, maple. This particular veneer on this one is a black walnut, and the pine on this looks to me to be a white pine. The only part that has a veneer is on the Ogee curve in this area here, and this flat part here, which actually has a little bit of a curve to it. And the door itself is made out of pine with the black walnut veneer. And I did find one nail that was loose in the case on this, and then there's two nails that are exposed. There's one nail over here and one nail over here. This one here is the same design as this smaller one that I found in the case. Sometime between 1880 and 1890, the United States had converted over to round nails, and in the time period between 1800 and 1880, they were using a rectangular nail. Looks similar to the square nail. The handmade square nail dates back to the time of the Romans. In America, they were producing the square nails somewhere between the 1600s up to about 1850. The particular nails used in this case are a true square nail. A lot of the square nails produced in America came from a facility in Pennsylvania that started producing square nails in about 1830. They produced them up into around 1870. As I continue forward with fabricating this lower piece, I'll make sure that I use the old square nails. I do have some square nails, some spares outside. I'll need a couple, at least one on this end here, so I may be able to find a match that I can put in there. And it looks like this is fairly loose on here. I'm going to see if I can just see if I can gently work this piece of wood off of here. Okay, that came off very nicely. There's a good view of that square nail. You can actually see how they made this rabbit cut out here. You can see scoring in this direction here, and that's the scores from the circular saw blade. This is another square nail here. So I believe this one here I found in the back of the case, just laying loose, would go right here. It was there to hold the back of the case in. I'll be using this original piece of wood in the repair, try to keep it as original as I can. The only thing I'll need to do is run this across my jointer and square that edge up so that I can glue the new piece to it. But I'll take this out to my shop and fabricate a new piece for it. I ended up pulling out some of these square nails that were in this piece. I ran that across the table saw to get a nice square edge on it. Found a piece of old growth white pine, and this white pine was given to me by my dad. He had a cabinet shop in Spokane, Washington back in the 1940s, so it was probably harvested sometime in the late 30s or early 40s, and as you can see, it's almost a perfect match as far as color and tone. But before I glue it onto the original piece, I'm going to have to put a patina on it. So you can see the old piece has some age on it, and so next I'll go ahead and put a patina on this white pine, and then we'll move forward from there. It should end up being almost a complete identical match. The original piece will be down there, and then the replacement piece will be up here on top. And I went ahead and planed it down to the same thickness, so that once I put that patina on there and glue that in there, I shouldn't be able to really tell the piece has been replaced. And once I do that, I've got some old growth black walnut out there that I'll fix to it. So I took a few measurements. I needed to pull these square nails out of here, and then I pulled them out of this back piece. I cut this at a 90-degree angle. That'll be going in there. Then I fabricated a piece for the back side. This ended up being at an angle here. And I put a patina on it to match. Once I glue that on there, I will need to take and put a veneer over this face, because these are a veneer of black walnut. And I found some black walnut out there I'll be using. It's not actually a veneer, but I'll go ahead and plane this down to get it a little thinner. And then I will be gluing the black walnut onto this face here. And then after that we'll need to stain it and get some type of a distressed, cracked finish on it. And we'll see how it looks. I've got my black walnut veneer on here. It's actually turned out quite nice. One anomaly that we ran into was this angle here is about a 70-degree angle. On here it's not a 90, and the angle on this side is about a 75-degree angle. So when I put this on here, I'm going to have to hand work this face here, because the angle here is slightly different than this angle. So the face of this black walnut will have just a little bit of a twist in there. So next step is I'll go back to the shop and hand work this black walnut to blend into this edge over here and blend into this edge. And then we'll see about finishing it with some type of finish that will have some cracks and checks in it. I ended up pulling 3 nails out, and I kept them located where the holes that they're in, because these are like handmade nails. They're all slightly different in size. And then I transferred these holes to the new wood that I made here. I can use just a standard nail in there to get it aligned, kind of like a pilot. But the piece turned out real good. I'm still going to put some more patina on this back side. The inside I'll probably just leave, because there's nothing but dust was in there, and you got the new piece of wood under there. That's going to be covered, so I didn't worry about staining that. And the original piece, it did not have any stain on the bottom, so I just left it raw. Like I say, I'll be putting in some more patina on that to blend it in better. And the black walnut came out pretty nice. I'll still need to do some fine tuning on the color of it. Get this lined up with that original hole in there. And then this tells me that this nail was here. This one was here. going to set those in just a little bit, because if this gets set on top of a mantle or something, I don't want the nail to be sticking down there and scratch. And then I pulled these two nails out, and they were actually on the back side. Put some cardboard in here to protect the face of it when I turn it around. They were pretty loose. Okay, we'll take that in and get the movement back in there and move on to the next. So it's time to get the movement in it. The black walnut that I chose and the white pine I chose, and white pine blended in real nice. I'm still going to do a little more patina work on it, but it's blended in real nice. The original was not stained or finished on the bottom, so I left it unstained. And the black walnut, but the color blended in just really nice as far as the real dark reddish color. And once this stain completely cures out, I'll go in there and look at it a little bit closer. I can darken it a little bit more just by adding some over the top of it. And then if I need to lighten it a little bit, I'll take some of that original stain that I used, and just by rubbing it with a rag, I'll be able to remove some of it, and then it'll lighten. As far as the cracks on it, it looks like it's going to look just fine. There was a lot of grain in this wood, and it pretty much simulates the cracks that we see in the rest of it. I'll go ahead and get the movement in there and get it up and working again. One thing I'm going to take out, and it's a real good idea to have this little holder here for the key, but because it's not original and it's out of a different type of wood, and they also put a screw through the label, and I don't care for that, but I'm going to take this out, see what it looks like under there. Yeah, and it looks like it damaged the label. Looks like they glued it on there, and when they glued it on there, they just basically glued it to the label, and then when it comes off, we've destroyed the label now. So because of that, I think I'll just go ahead and leave it on there then. Alright, let's find that movement. This is the gong side over here. This is the time side over here. This is the locking block that goes on the top of the movement. Okay, that's ready to set up. Next is the suspension spring and rod. We'll get the weights in there, small weight. generally always goes on the time side on these Ogees. Large one on the gong side. And since this has been running for a couple weeks, I'm going to go ahead and put the dial on it. I'll probably just end up leaving the dial original. Pendulum in it. (1874) Waterbury clock company. The piece on the bottom that I fabricated looks real nice. It blends in real nice. And I'll be restoring that reverse painting on the bottom as well.